All right, we're going to start the day with a skill check. You want to find your notes and homework for last week's lesson for solving radical equations. You can use your notes and your homework for that. An announcement about our test this week. For you, it's on Friday. What does that even mean to have a test? It means you have to study. And then it means any late work that you're missing from this unit is due Friday by 11:59. And if you need to make up or retake test 2, that is also due by this Friday, 11:59. Also, this Friday is the last day of the quarter. So let's say you fail the test Friday. We will have the retake opportunities open Saturday morning. So grades are due from teachers. Your final grade is due Monday based on your work through this Friday. But since we're not giving you the third test till Friday and you might still need a retake, we're going to go ahead and let you do that through the weekend just for test 3. So don't worry too much. If you fail, you will get to retake. It'll have to be due by Sunday night though, because we have to have grades done. And then if you feel like you are failing, we will be doing credit protection opportunity for any grades that are failing. Usually it's just between 60 and 69 that gets offered credit protection, but this time we are allowing it for anybody. So let's say you haven't been coming to class and you haven't been doing your work and you have a seriously low grade like a 10 or a 20 and you feel like you can't dig yourself out of that hole. What I want you to do is switch your mind a little bit. Your new goal is not going to be to pass for the quarter. Your new goal is going to be to pass by the end of the semester. So and that's really the grade that matters most because that's what goes on your transcript. So if you have a super low grade and it's something you're not used to and you just got yourself in a bad spot and you feel like you can't get yourself out, please try not to stress too much. What we'll do is credit protection. You might not be able to bring your grade all the way up to 70 for first quarter, but if you can get your act together for but you'll bring it up some, right? You might bring it up 20 or 30 points. Get your act together for the second quarter, and then your new goal will be passing by the end of the semester, which is completely manageable. If you just get a fresh start for second quarter, do your credit protection, and we can get you there. And for those of you who are kind of failing but closer to passing, like if you're anywhere between 50 and 70 right now, or after your test 3, you're somewhere between 50 or 70, you'll get credit protection also. You'll be able to bring that up to 70. And so anyone who's eligible for credit protection is anybody who's failing, no matter if it's from 0 to 70, and we'll talk about that next week, okay? I think that's everything I needed to say about that. Wednesday will be fully asynchronous because I will be proctoring the SAT in my classroom. So kids on campus, when you come Wednesday, you'll go to the auditorium and the work will be asynchronous in your Google Classroom. And oh, by the way, this is college algebra, not my other subject. The only thing we're doing Wednesday is working on the test review. So that's what you'll be doing in the auditorium, and that's what those of you will be doing at home on Wednesday. All right, so this is the part of the video where you're looking for the blue screen if you're working asynchronously for the skill check. So it's going to be coming right after this slide. All right, so take a minute and solve this problem, being sure, so the directions say to solve and identify any extraneous solutions. So if you're working asynchronously, please pause the video now and then work this problem, and we will grade it together as a class in a few moments. All right, so on the next screen, I have my work. There's 2 parts to the work. The left side is my actual algebra to get the solutions, and the right side in blue is my work for checking for extraneous solutions. So I'm going to give you a minute to write in your corrections. Remember, if you need to write in with a different color or something or way off to the side, don't erase your original work. But I'll give you a moment to make your corrections before I talk about how to grade. 100 is for you got the correct answers, x equals 2 and x equals 13, and you remember to check for extraneous solutions. If you got 2 and 13 but forgot to plug them back in and check, you need to give yourself an 85 because that's a procedural thing that you forgot to do. If you got 2 and 13 and when you plugged them in to check for extraneous, you did your math wrong, that's a 95, okay? Because you knew what to do, you got the first answers correct, you just messed up on checking, that can be a 95. But if you forgot to check for extraneous altogether, that's an 85. It's a 75 if you made both kinds of mistakes, like maybe you forgot to check for extraneous and you made a math mistake in the original work, but it was a simple thing, that would be a 75. I'll leave that up to you to decide. And it's a 65 if you didn't really know what to do, but you tried something. And it's a 0 if you just couldn't get started because you couldn't remember what you were supposed to be doing. So put your, I'm going to give you a minute to take a picture of your work and put it into your assignment in Google Classroom. It's your newest assignment. I just put it in there this morning. It's 1012, CW for classwork, SC for skill check, and it's called 1.6 Solving Radical Equations. So take a minute to do that, and then we will move on. So this is the name of the assignment where you want to put your picture. And please also remember to write your grade in the private comments. All right, for those of you writing your own notes, oh, I forgot I had a little brain break to show you. This is a video that I saw over the weekend, and I just wanted to share it because I thought it was hilarious. So give me just a second. By the time I share it to Zoom, we'll have to watch it twice, which is not a complaint. Hold on, Zoom, I'll share it to you just a second. Just gotta manage all the things. All right, thank you for your patience. My kids would be like, Mom, you're so old. I think that's hilarious. I thought that video was hilarious. I watched it like 10 times. All right. Moving on to math. So today we are solving rational exponent equations. So if you look at this, oh wait, I gotta share it with Zoom again. Goodness gracious. Goodness, all the graciouses. People everywhere. People in Zoom, people in class. All right. Oh, dang it, hold on. So this screen right here might look like craziness to you. I'm going to explain all this to you in with real numbers. So don't worry about writing this slide down if you're copying your own notes. The only thing, if I were you, that I would be sure to copy down right now is the title right here. So today what we are doing is solving rational exponent equations. This means equations where the exponents are fractions. So you might have like x to the 2/3 or something like that. And we're going to talk about how to handle that. So lesson 5, 1.6, solving rational exponent equations. So here are the steps I want you to take a minute to write down. But I am changing part of number 2, where it says apply the power property to cancel off the power. I want you to put apply the reciprocal power. Apply the reciprocal power. And that's the wording I'm going to be using. And I'll explain that when we do a problem. So if you're watching asynchronously, just pause and copy these steps down. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to have stuff that looks like this, okay? So our problem is x minus 3 to the 2/3 power equals 4. And the way we get rid of that 2/3, because our goal is to get the x by itself, right? But it's got that 2/3 power on the outside. So the way you undo 2/3 power is you raise it to the reciprocal power. So we're going to undo that exponent. So here's our first step. Raise both sides, or let's say apply, because I think that's the words we used in the steps. Apply reciprocal power to both sides. So when I say reciprocal power, the way it's written right now is 2/3. What do you think of when you hear the reciprocal of 2/3? Duncan, what is that? What are you saying with that? Flip it, right? Exactly. So if I've got x minus 3 to the 2/3 on the left, and I'm telling you to get rid of that 2/3, you raise it to the reciprocal power. The reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. So you raise the left-hand side to the 3/2 power, which we'll talk about what that means in just a moment. And whatever you do to the left side, you also have to do to the right side. Raise it to the 3/2 power. And here's what's going on. On the left-hand side, you have a power being raised to another power. And you may not remember this, but you have learned in your exponent rules that says a power to a power means you multiply the powers together. And what happens when you multiply 2/3 times 3/2 is you get 1, right? They cancel each other out. And it's not necessarily that they're going anywhere. It's just they multiply to 1, and now you have a power of 1, but we just don't really write that. So on the left-hand side, the 3/2 power cancels out the 2/3 power, leaving me just x minus 3 on the left. But now we need to talk about what's happening on the right. What does it mean to have 4 to the 3/2 power? And what I want you to think about that 3/2 is this. It's actually two things going on there. It has a root, which is the bottom number, is the root. So this has a square root. And it has a power of 3. The number on the bottom is the root, like square root, cube root. And the number on top is a power. And we're going to do those separately by breaking it up into its different pieces. So here's what I mean. We're going to have 4 to the 1/2 power. That's the root. And then we're going to do the power of 3 after that. So I've just taken the fraction 3/2 and broken it up into 1/2 and 3. So I did the power raised to a power thing just in a different way. Because 1/2 to the 3rd is still the same as the 3/2 power. And here's another thing I need you to write down. When you have a root that's even, you're basically taking a square root. So 1/2 power means square root. And when you take a square root, you need to take the plus or minus of that number. So the next thing I want you to write down is that you need a plus or minus because of the even denominator or root. So here's where I'm going to put in the plus or minus. And then we broke up the root, so we break up the root and the power. And now we simplify. So here's what's going to happen next. And we always do the root first, or we always at least try, because it makes our number smaller. So 4 to the 1/2 is the same as the square root of 4. And it's plus or minus, so that's 2 to the 3rd power. And then 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. And now we can break this up into 2 equations. So break up 2 equations. So I have x minus 3 equals positive 8, and x minus 3 equals negative 8. And we solve those. We just add 3 to both sides, and I get 11 here, and negative 5 there. And I'm about to erase all this and show it to you one more time quickly. You don't have to write it down. I just want you to watch with your eyeballs, okay? But who still needs this up because they're copying? Anybody? Okay, because I'm about to erase it, and I want you to put your pencils down for a second and watch me run through the problem again. It was already isolated, meaning there's nothing on the front or the right side of the x minus 3 that I have to undo. So I raise it to the reciprocal power, which is 3/2. On the left-hand side, the powers cancel, leaving me x minus 3. And on the right, I have 4 to the 3/2. But whenever the denominator is even, means you're going to have a plus or minus answer, because an even root is like taking a square root. Only when it's even. If it's odd, you don't do that. So I really have plus or minus 4 to the 3/2. And then we broke up the root, which was 1/2, from the power, which was 3. And we said 4 to the 1/2 is the same as square rooting 4. And that is 2 plus or minus, which I already have in. And then 2 cubed is 8. And then we broke it up into 2 different equations with the positive 8 and the negative 8. And we solved from there. Okay? That's the basic idea. So in this next problem, though, there's a little bit more work that you have to do in order to get the term isolated. So we have 3 times x plus 1 to the 3/4 minus 9 equals 15. Before we can apply the reciprocal power, we have to get this all by itself first. It's got a times 3 out front and a minus 9 on the right. So to isolate it and get it by itself, we do the same thing as if we just had 3x minus 9. Right? We would add 9 to both sides. And we'd get 3x equals 24, and then we would divide by 3. And that's the same work we're going to do right now to get that yellow stuff by itself. We're going to add 9 to both sides. And then I have 3 times x plus 1 to the 3/4 equals 24. And then we divide by 3. Notice I did not distribute 3 in the first step. And that's because it has the 3/4 power on the outside of the parentheses. So now that I have the term by itself, I have to raise both sides to the reciprocal power. What's the reciprocal of 3/4? 4/3. Thank you. So raise both sides to the 4/3 power. And on the left, the 4/3 cancels out the 3/4, leaving me x plus 1. And then on the right, I have 8 to the 4/3. But on this problem, you do not need plus or minus. Because the root is odd. And what I mean by that is the root that you applied to both sides, this one, not from the original problem. when you're trying to decide if it needs a plus or minus, you're looking at the power that you did to both sides of the equation, not the power in the original problem, but the one that you wrote. So we are going to have one answer on this one. So then we break the 4/3 up into its root and its power. Its root is 1/3. And we do that first. And its power is 4. And when I want to know what 8 to the 1/3 is, it means what number times itself 3 times gives me 8. And that number is 2. So the third root of 8 is 2, and now I'm raising it to the 4th power. That's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So that's 4, and then 8, and then 16. And you subtract 1, you have 15 for your answer. And I keep forgetting it's a shortened day. So there is one more problem on the notes, but I'm going to leave that for you to find on the PDF in your Google Classroom, okay? To go see how that's worked. No Zoom Wednesday. You'll be working asynchronously, and I will see you Friday.